Thank you for joining us. This is Live with Miami's Community News, and I'm Michael Muller. Special guest today is Frank Calderone from the Miami-Dade Solid Waste Department. Welcome, Frank.
Thanks for having me here, Michael.
Before we get on to talking about our favorite subject, I want to give a shout out to our friend Anna Brandt, who owns Frames USA on Bird Road and 67th Avenue. He is the community newspaper's official framer. So if you want to see the work he does, stop off his store or go to his website, or feel free to come by here at Community Newspapers. So Frank, people ask me all the time, what's the difference between the services that the county provides? There's the recycling part, there's the bulky waste, there's the regular trash pickup. So let's go over some of those things.
Sure. Well, the garbage collection and the bulky waste pickup are done by our staff, employees. The recycling is done by contractors. The difference between the three different things is waste goes to disposal. So does trash, as we call it, which is basically yard, non-kitchen stuff, basically yard and furniture type of stuff. And then with the recycling, that stuff actually gets recycled.
Let's talk about the trash recycling centers, the TRCs.
Yes.
Traditionally, what is the content of that trash that's put into those containers?
Well, definitely not household stuff. You don't want to bring last night's dinner in a plastic bag. They won't take it there. What they take is yard waste. So, lawn clipping, stuff like that you may have done around your yard, and you got to get rid of things like that. They'll take old appliances. They'll take old furniture, those type of items.
So when people are lined up there, traditionally, what type of vehicles is the homeowner in? Are they in the family's Cadillac or in the husband's truck?
The husband's truck usually. Most people will come by in a pickup truck. It's a little bit more convenient to just throw things off. The one thing, though, that we caution people is do not bring a commercial vehicle. If you have a business vehicle, don't bring that. If you have magnets for business on your personal vehicle, take the magnets off so that you're not they don't.
And it is a thrill. In the days I used to jump up in the back of the truck and then throw it out the back, right? And you watch it drop about 10 or 15 feet into the green dumpsters.
Yeah.
It's actually, for a guy like myself who enjoys that stuff, it was pretty thrilling for a while. I would go around and look in other people's trucks. Hey, you got anything for me around here? So when people drive up their pickup trucks, do the attendants that are there, what sort of ID do they ask for?
They will ask for either state ID or driver's license. If you're driving, hopefully you have a driver's license, not just an ID. But you could be the passenger. They'll ask, and then they'll scan it to make sure it matches with the database of our customer addresses, basically.
I mentioned this before. A friend of ours down the street, he was having a lot of yard work done. And I guess the landscaper wanted to charge too much. So all throughout one of the days, the guy was backing up his truck. He'd fill it up and go over there. Finally, on the second or third load, the guy says, I'm going to have somebody go to your house. I'm going to make sure that the trees, the bushes here are in your yard. Sure enough, they were. All right. But so if somebody starts to abuse that, they're probably going to get caught at some point.
Yes, we do keep a close watch on it. It's for residential, and we want to make sure that the people who pay the fee for it out of their waste service fee get to use it, and not other people who didn't pay the waste service fee.
So for the uninitiated, when you're in that line over there and you see these commercial trucks there, how are they doing that?
The one exception we do have to not commercial people is landscapers, but they have to pay. They pay in advance. They buy a series of coupons from us, and each time they have a visit, or each time they visit a TRC, they give us one of the coupons. They're the only exception. The reason for that is they're in neighborhoods doing lawn and landscaping. For them to have to drive all the way across the county to dispose just takes time from them, and it hurts their business. So,
and it seems like just yesterday that we said the same thing. Within 5.5 weeks, it's hurricane season again.
Oh, yeah.
Where the tropics begin to heat up a little bit. So tell us how that affects solid waste and trash.
Well, the minute you mention that word, the H word, people start to get ready. They start, and what ends up happening is our bulky waste appointments start to fill up. So we advise people, I always say now is the time to do it. I probably sound like a broken record, but now is indeed the time to do it because we're not in the season yet. We don't have anything threatening out there. So appointments are available. So now's the time to get rid of anything you have in your yard that you need to get rid of, you need to get rid of. If you know you have that tree limb that's hanging precariously over a part of your house, or maybe where you park your car or something, you're afraid that it might fall, when the wind blows more than 5 miles per hour, now is the time to get rid of it and take it to one of the TRCs, or you call for the bulky pickup. Don't wait till the storm threatens to call a bulky pickup, because you're going to find all the appointments are gone until after the storms come by.
Sometimes I feel like a tree Scrooge after the last storm, when the trees are just flopping all over the yard. And so those were on our border. Fortunately, when they fell, these are pretty big trees, they missed the house. So one of the things that we have to remember, if it's a 60-mile-an-hour wind or 100-mile-an-hour wind, it doesn't necessarily have to be a really big thing to cause damage. And those things get blown through the air, 2x4s, right? Bicycles, all that stuff. We hate to even think about it. So people have to really not just do their yard, but think about what's over in the neighbors. And if you have the guts to say, hey, listen, and I've done that. I said, your stuff's hanging right over our house. Please cut it back. And they did, because nobody wants to be a neighbor, especially that they don't get to see that side of the tree. So we're looking at it. I was trimming it, I don't know, for 5 years straight. Finally, I said, just
lop it off.
Yeah, take it off so we don't have to think about it. So if somebody says, okay, we're going to clean up the yard, and they have all this trash, what do they need to do first?
Before they place it on the curbside, you have two options. Don't place it on the curbside. If you want a bulky pickup, you want them to come and use one of your 2 annual bulky pickups and have us come take it. Set the appointment first. You can do it by calling 311. You can do it by visiting our website, miami-dade.gov/solid waste, and doing it online, either way. And then you can set the stuff out 3 days before your appointment day. Otherwise, you can bring it to one of the trash and recycling centers.
And a lot of people over the age of 60 might not want to go to the website, but I'm just going to tell you, it was simple, miami-dade.gov/solid waste. And it says, okay, what do you want, bulky waste? I think, and you push it, and up pops what's your address? It pops up your address is a diagram of a house. Where do you want to do it? What's it made of? And they give you a drop down for open dates.
Yes.
And then typically it's within a couple of hours of that.
Well, whatever date you have, they tell you to set it out 3 days before.
Right. So 3 days before, and right before the hurricane season, I know lots of people like to use other people's trash piles. But if it gets more than your stuff, what do you want them to do?
Well, what happens is you set out a trash pile and you call for bulky, do the right thing, and then you come home and you see more stuff there that isn't yours that went on the pile. Well, what you want to do when that happens is call 311 and report it as illegal dumping, because it's your stuff you put out there, and for somebody to take advantage of that and dump other stuff, you may go over the limit, and then they're going to charge you. They're going to hit you for it, or it may even be reported as illegal dumping anyway. So the best thing to do is just report it yourself, and then that way you don't get dinged for it.
I had some experiences over a couple of years. So when I put stuff out front, I take a picture of it, because the last time they came out, they said, "Oh, you got too much." I said, what's your phone number? I'm going to text you the picture. And you can see they just added, the people just added it on right next to it. And so 25 cubic feet, yards,
yes.
They're entitled to once a year.
Twice a year.
So, and each yard is like a dishwasher.
A washing machine.
So it's about 25 of those.
Yes.
Right. And if somebody puts it out and it comes back and they determine it's 40 yards, all right, not 25, what are the options for the homeowner at that point?
Well, we have you have several different options. If you have both of your bulky waste pickups available, you can use the second one. They'll let you combine the two
on site.
Yeah. Otherwise, you can pay per cubic yard. I don't know what off the top of my head how much it is, or per cubic yard beyond the 25 cubic yards. Or you can just tell them to leave the rest and you take it to a TRC, a trash and recycling center yourself. But be advised that if you do that, you can't let it sit there. You know, you have to kind of do it like the same day. And
if somebody has only 15 out of 25, they don't get the credit for the other 10 yards.
No, unfortunately, no. If you combine the two into one pickup, even if you're short of like a few cubic yards, they won't let you call in another one.
It's a new calendar year is a new deal. You don't get to make that cumulative vacation.
No, it doesn't carry over. No
carryover. And so people can put whites out there, I mean, washing machine, dishwasher, stuff like that. Refrigerators and freezers, please take the door off.
Take the door off, yes.
And I was delighted to see on social media yesterday for your home chemical, there was an event someplace. I forget.
Yes, we had Saturday. I want to say it was down south. I'm not 100% sure. I want to say it was the our furthest south TRC Moody Drive, but I'm not 100% sure.
That's where it was, right?
Mhm.
And people go there in their vehicles and say, Here's my leftover stuff." So what are some of the things they can take to the home chemical disposal?
For the home chemical, well, first we have 2 permanent centers that people can go to, but if they're not convenient to you, do what I do. Wait until there's an event near you, which you can see on our website, miami-dade.gov/solid waste. But this is where you take home chemical items that you can't dump them in the garbage, but you don't need them anymore. Expired pesticides, fertilizer, paint is a big item. Pool chemicals, we sometimes find cleaners, solvents, things like that. Old batteries are a good item. Old electronics are taken there as well.
This whole process of that, sort of the honor system and pride, it's like, don't dump it on the ground, all right? Because somebody's watching you somewhere. Maybe your grandchildren are watching. Look what Grandpa did, right?
Yeah.
The other day I was cleaning out my car and a piece of paper flew out. I said, I better go get it because Frank's going to tell me, ask me what I did. So those things work. And can we talk a little bit about recycling? It's a big issue
Sure.
right now. And across the country, people are hearing more and more and more about that. So the basics of recycling for Miami-Dade, their products go into the blue can.
Yes.
What are some of the basic things they can put in there without having to think about it too much?
Paper, which includes junk mail, stuff like that. Cardboard, a lot of boxes from shipping, stuff like that. And we now take pizza boxes that are lightly soiled. As long as they're not too greasy, we'll take them. Plastic and glass bottles. The only type of plastic we take are plastic bottles, which include water bottles, laundry detergent bottles or jugs. We also take, the only exception, we'll take we'll take yogurt and butter tubs as well. And we also take cans, food cans, beverage cans.
Outside one of the grocery stores, I looked at it yesterday. One was for paper, one was for plastics, and the other one, I thought it said foam, but it couldn't possibly have said foam. It must have been something else. It should have put on.
It might have been. Foam is recyclable, but just not in our program. But there are places where they will accept
foam.
it.
What type of foam?
Styrofoam.
Oh,
or polystyrene foam is the.
That's like we get when we get computers and stuff.
Yes, sometimes they pack it, packing peanuts. Always check the container, see what it says first. They might not want the packing peanuts, not because they're not made out of the right material, but because they're so small and loose and they fly away easily.
When I went a couple of years ago, one of the few times I would go to the grocery store, my wife pulled out these like collapsible bags, all right, made out of like cardboard or whatever it is. And we walked in with them. I said, "What are these?" She said, "That's where we put the food instead of getting those plastic bags that they get wasted someplace." So even as careful as I am not bringing home any plastic bags, we're cleaning out one of our kitchen closets, and we have a bag this big filled with plastic bags.
Those things are like, remember that episode on the old original Star Trek series, the Tribbles? They're like tribbles. They reproduce.
I know. So I know what I'm doing. I'm taking all those bags, all right? We're going to take it to one of those stores and we're going to drop it in the plastic bags. But people do want to know, how come plastic bags are not recyclable?
They're just not recyclable in our program. What happens in programs like ours is the plastic bag, the materials that we take go to this facility, but one of our contractors runs it and owns and operates it. And everything gets separated by a series of conveyor belts. Now, these plastic bags, what ends up happening with them is they get jammed in the machinery of the conveyor belts. And there's such a volume of them, and there's so much machinery that they just like jam up practically every inch of machinery, every inch of conveyor belt, and they have to stop the plant every couple of hours. Sometimes they even have to go to the point where they have to use blow torches to cut them out. But plastic bags, there are places that will take them. If you go to, the grocery store, when you leave the next time, make a mental note, check outside. They'll have some recycling bins, as you mentioned earlier, and some of them will take plastic bag. And they won't even, in a lot of cases, they don't even care if it's their store plastic bag. They'll take any type of filmy plastic, which would include, for example, dry cleaners, that sort of thing.
So they have vendors that buy that stuff.
Yeah, it's processed differently. Yeah. That's why we can't take it in our program.
Okay. So I was driving down the street. I saw one of my neighbors has 4 or 5 green carts. How is that possible?
Well, presumably they're paying a fee for the extra carts. All of our customers are entitled to one cart.
And the neighbor has no carts.
With, you know, as part of the waste service fee. Anybody who gets an additional cart, we started a few years ago, we started to realize that if they have additional carts, they're producing, you know, double the garbage the neighbor is. So we charge them an extra fee for that. And it's about $160 a year now.
And so, but the first one is no charge.
The first one is no addition. It's part of the waste service fee. Yeah.
Right. And then to put it in perspective, if it's $160 a year, that comes out to $3 a week, right?
Yeah. 160. Yeah.
$3 a week. So $1.50 a pickup. Cheap enough. Right.
Yeah.
And it's like, and why?
And you're
why
getting double the garbage picked up as
Yeah.
your neighbor. So,
And if they're broken, either the recycling one or the counting the green ones, people should do up.
if your cart is damaged, call 311, and they will arrange to have somebody come by. One of our cart crews come by and either repair or replace, depending on the nature. And they're really neat. They'll recycle cart parts. Like if you have a damaged cart, if you have a cart that needs to be completely replaced, they might, if the lid's still good, they'll take the lid off, clean it, and they'll use it for somebody else's cart that needs replaced.
Does it matter which side of the house it's on?
When you put it out for that, the important thing is that it be out front where they can see it and where they can access it. Because if you have a locked gate and they can, or you have a very vicious dog like a Chihuahua, and it's you put it there and they won't let the person go get it, the cart crew go get it, then no.
10 years ago,
it
if you
needs
could
to be
have a
accessible.
gate around your property, it's perfect. I want everybody to stay out until that big company decides to start sending stuff to your house all day long. And so now what used
Now
to be
the
like,
gate is,
now the gate's opened, right? Good. You know,
Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about the county's website. Tell us some of the things that are on there.
Well, we have our department. Every department has web pages on there. Has their own mini website. Our department can be found on miami-dade.gov/solid waste.
Oh, there it is. It's online right now. Okay.
And we do have certain what we call vanity URLs. Certain of the high interest pages have their own URL that'll take you directly. For example, mosquito control, it's miami-dade.gov/mosquito control, or miami-dade.gov/mosquito. I'm sorry. Recycling, you can go to miami-dade.gov/recycling and it'll go right to our recycling pages. You have other departments, of course, have their own web pages. Animal service.
So people can find out
Aviation.
again about solid waste, the services. They can figure out the days
Yes.
that their pickups. Can they find the recycling on that same page? The days.
We have links to where they can find the recycling day. Yes.
So I understand that some of the people down south, they have some of the days would change for recycling or for the regular pickup.
For recycling, we changed the dates on a few people, but they're actually north of Kendall Drive. We didn't do anybody south of Kendall Drive. We have had people erroneously think, yes, my day changed. If they're living south of Kendall Drive, no, it did not. It wasn't everybody, but it was a big, like about a third of our customers, about 119,000 homes that did. But everybody who changed, for the most part, received a postcard from us that said that they were, and it showed the dates for April and May, and then we're going to send them a calendar for the rest of the
You
year.
mentioned about a third change. How many customers altogether?
About 300, depending on what you count. But for recycling, it's in the neighborhood about 365,000. If you include the recycling, because we have some customers, municipal customers that have their own, the municipality picks up the garbage, but we do the recycling for them.
So sometimes when I first started hearing the word customers, I'm going,
Yes.
what do you mean a customer? Well, that's the way it is. You've got this big company and we pay during the year to get stuff done. So about how many customers are there of Miami-Dade County for the solid waste?
If
More or
you
less.
count just the full service, it's about 350, and that includes the solid waste and recycling, about 355,000 roughly.
And solid waste picks up twice a week.
Twice a week.
And
Yes.
recycling is every other week.
Every other week.
So I know we've been over this before, but more or less, how many pickups a week on the green carts are done?
If you add it all up, it's basically 355,000 to about 710,000 pickups take place a week.
A week. So for the simplistic binds, you'd say, gee, that's 750 a week times 4. I know it's 4
In a
and a
month.
third, but it's anyway.
2.8 million. That's the population of the county.
Yeah,
2.8 million times
I know
that we pick up.
It's just a mammoth thing, and they're out in these big trucks. All right, And there's lots of times the county's looking for people to drive the trucks and to work for the department. Any openings right now?
At the moment, the county is under a hiring freeze, but anytime, as soon as we open, we will let people know.
And you typically do that on the website.
Yeah, the Miami-Dade.gov. The HR website for the county, which would be Miami-Dade.gov/jobs.
And if somebody's looking for jobs, they could go there.
Yes,
and they can see all the different departments.
They'll see whatever's available. Yes.
Okay. Next. Let's talk a little bit about the waterways. Sometimes people think that the waterways are under the control of solid waste, but who's in charge of that?
The waterways actually depend, and I only know this because I worked at water and sewer before, and we were merged with public works. Some of the waterways, some of the canals are under the control of the county, typically the smaller canals. Some of the larger canals actually fall under South Florida Water Management District control. Most of the canals typically fall under their control.
And I wanted to shout out to my grandson. I mentioned this before. He's out on this kayak. He's 10, and he sees the manatees and everything. And he came back. He's holding up that plastic bag. Grandpa, I found some trash. What a thrill it is to see somebody that young concerned about in the waterways. Right? That plastic is, number one, wrong, and two, it hurts the animals. Some people think that littering out your window of your car, you're throwing something out. In the old days, it might have been a cigarette butt or a plastic bag or something from one of the fast food, but people still do that.
Sadly, and it can end up flying all over the place. It can end up in the waterways.
There was a last year, the year before, 27th Avenue and US 1 was all backed up. They had the city, I think it was the city of Miami, over there with the trucks sucking out the stuff. The water flooded from one side of the highway, 2 lanes, median strip, 2 lanes, sidewalk, drive-through at the McDonald's. The water was all the way up there from that across the street because there was mostly that's trash that people dumped. It collected from a long area.
In the you're talking about the storm drains. The storm drains, yes.
And so we know when we have our season, our rainy season's coming up, I think. All right. We know that because the grass is already turning brown. So before you go and spend all the money on the new sprinklers, all right, just wait in a few months. It's going to be raining like crazy.
Yeah.
And that's a really good opportunity around your house to pick up that stuff that's in the yard that can float down the street, especially have those type of sidewalks to sort of drain that stuff down there. So here we are, almost hurricane season again. Hopefully we'll not have any, but people need to be ready for that. And they can go to 311. They can call there. They can have it done that way, or they can look and do it themselves. And I always pride myself to going websites and trying to figure it out because I think it's healthy for our brains to be able to do that. So, Frank, thank you very much for being here. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Have a great week. And we're going to look right over the red camera. And we want to thank Lorenzo for producing the show. And by the way, Lorenzo finished his first year at where'd you go? Florida. You know, this whole year he kept telling us that he was in school full time. He said he was, but he was here quite often. He would come down on a bus and come to work.
Study.
Yes, that's exactly what it was. I think he was just kidding his parents. So, folks.